All right, we're starting today. Your lovely Thursday. We actually have quite a lot of videos to make, but we have some legit Switch Pro leaks. I'm talking legit stuff, inside source code, Nintendo related. This is the first time we actually have real leaks, not just some guy knows someone who talked to someone in manufacturing. This is something that has been verified. This is real about Switch Pro, what we can expect, including an OLED screen. That's right, OLED. Oh, baby, let's go. Before I get into this, we are giving away a PlayStation 5, an Xbox Series X, or a Nintendo Switch this month. The winner will actually be announced during a live stream at the end of the month. But to enter, there's a laundry list of things down in the description for you to do to enter. Big thing is obviously be subscribed to the channel. If you are not subscribed, you cannot win. So that's kind of the big thing. But yeah, if we hit 70,000 subscribers, we'll actually give away 2 systems. So yeah, stay tuned for that. All right, let's get into the news. This comes from a Switch hacker, of course, because it required having to go in, known as Scryers. If you don't know who he is, you clearly have been living under a rock, as we have talked about his hacks and leaks in the past. He gets into Nintendo Switch firmware and digs details out of that firmware, and oh boy, do we have a big one here. He went to 4chan in the homebrew and hacking community to talk about this because he wanted to get other people's thoughts and verifications on it, which he did. This is crazy. He had a number of posts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them actually, to be exact. We're going to read every single one because a couple of them have a little bit of speculation, but these are the facts. I have seen other places talk about this, add in their own speculation, but these are the actual facts that we know from the firmware, so we're going to stick to the facts, and then I can talk a little bit about what I think this means. So first off, he says, Nintendo is actually working on a new model with an upgraded display, and they've been doing that for about 1.5 to 2 years. I personally believe it's 4K, given the signs that I'm seeing in the firmware, but that's not confirmed yet and could be wrong. The new hardware is codenamed AULA. I think that's how you say it. It's AULA. It is using a Morrico SoC. There's a bunch of references to it in the code. Atmosphere supports the new display already in theory, something the Switch uses, but moving on. The tablet itself definitely has an upgraded display, but I don't know if it's 4K. AULA has firmware support, some Realtek chip that advertises itself as a 4K Ultra HD Multimedia SoC 2. Hence my belief that it's 4K. That chip, though, might be inside the new dock and not inside the tablet, though there's no way to tell from the firmware code yet. AULA explicitly supports handheld mode. It is not docked only. That's Calico, which seems like it's for internal only, such never releasing, since Calico has no game card slot and no battery. Although Nintendo could release a standalone system that's digital only, that's obviously a possibility, but there is a standalone system that exists as well. It just doesn't seem likely it's coming out. You can check boot system module display code if you're curious. The new display doesn't support power management, PWM. It has its own vendor-specific BS that I had to reverse engineer and implement a month or 2 ago. Morrico has substantially better cooling and battery life. It's a bona fide die shrink over the original generation. My best guess, pure speculation, no firmware indication in this case, is that if they need extra performance, they'll push it to higher clock rates across the board. So essentially, if Switch Pro is to be more powerful, it would be because, hey, they are literally running this thing at the highest possible clock rates that they can, which is possible with the die shrink. Die shrinks lead to the ability to run things faster. So you can still see a power boost. It just won't be quite the boost that some people might be hoping for. All right. But yeah, I speculate the games will be DSi enhanced. Just like how there's some games on PlayStation 4 Pro that are PlayStation 4 only games that just happen to run better because there's more power. I checked my previous discussions with Hex KYZ, another hacker in the community, and the upgraded tablet display is an OLED screen. Probably not higher resolution on tablet itself, aka looking at 720p, 1080p, something like that on the tablet side. But the 4K Realtek chip is more likely to be in the dock, so they're including a 4K upscaler chip in the dock. So he mentioned that was the case before. He's now really leaning that Realtek chip that is in the firmware is specifically in a new dock. Vanilla probably won't. We're in the realm of speculation. Alula has a new GPIO that Redbox doesn't relate to support for this, so I would tentatively guess that Redbox units won't support the new thing. I'm not exactly sure what that's in reference to. I tried digging some research into it. It's back-end code-based stuff. So this is awesome. I'll put a link down to the 4chan thread if you want to see further discussions on it. Squires is kind of backing off on talking about it because people are kind of running wild with the speculation. But here's the grand takeaway. The new upcoming Switch Pro has a code name known as AULA, A-U-L-A. All right? That Switch that is supposedly coming, it's been in works for about 1.5 to 2 years, will have an OLED screen. All right? So an OLED screen, at least 720p, probably 1080p. The system will support 4K, especially for multimedia output. So you're talking 4K Netflix, which we don't even have, 4K Hulu, 4K Disney Plus if that comes over. All those streaming services. I know there's one for anime now that will support 4K. So it will have a 4K ability to output at native 4K on a TV, but that chip, a Realtek chip, will be in the dock itself. The main GPU, APU thing is still going to be basically what the Switch has now, but it will be an extremely die-shrunk version of it, which does allow Nintendo and Nvidia to run it at significantly higher clock speeds. So you could potentially, depending on how the die-shrunk is done, get almost double the clock speeds you have now, both CPU and GPU-wise, which in theory would lead to a pretty significant power boost for Switch. It would definitely see things like Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity running significantly better, potentially even at a locked 30 FPS. All right, so that's great news. And yeah, it's probably coming this year. I think that's kind of a speculative thing that's not confirmed here, but it feels like it's coming this year. Also, side note, there is a standalone box that is not portable, that does not have a battery, and, is, kind of, this is the first time we've actually heard about this, a standalone box that does not have a battery, but it also doesn't have a card slot. So would Nintendo actually consider releasing a system that literally doesn't allow physical games, that is digital only? So they have the Switch Lite, but then they release a Switch box that you put under your TV, but it can't accept physical games. Would Nintendo do that? I don't know. It's possible that box exists purely for dev reasons as well, so that's something to consider. Has a different code name. That code name, Colicchio, or whatever. These code names are really funky this time around. I can't really pronounce them that well. But the code name for that one, I just want to get the exact spelling right. So I'm trying to glance at everything again here to make sure I don't mess it up. Yeah, I am. Oh yeah, there it is. It's Calcio. So Calcio. I don't know. That's just what that code name is. That does exist. It is a platform that exists on the back end. Again, could just be a dev only thing. Could be something they're maybe planning to release. Maybe they're going to release it later this year. Maybe they'll do the Switch Pro now. They'll release this thing later as like a cheaper, get it for TV only, but it's also a digital only box. I have no idea. But Nintendo has plans. Those plans are now coming to fruition. These are the first legitimate leaks we have that are based on Nintendo's actual firmware. So this is inside the firmware for Switch. It's there. We now know. Switch Pro is no longer a rumor. It is now officially a thing that we can back up definitively with actual references in the code, along with it being OLED, along with it using a 4K Realtek chip. Let's go, everyone. Let's freaking go. All right, folks. I'm Nintendo RoboJets from Nintendo Prime. Thank you so much for tuning in. Also, I should note, by the way, for those that are hoping for us to move off the Mariko chips and use something more powerful, it's possible the Mariko chips are just a reference for now, and that there will be a more powerful chip. It's not definitive that it's just going to be a die shrunk Mariko. It's possible that is just currently what they're toying with when they actually manufacture it for sale, which maybe they already are. It could be using something else. All right, folks. I'm just throwing out there's still hope. There's always hope until it's announced. All right. I'll catch you guys in the next video. And we have a lot of videos for you today. The most I've output in a day in quite some time.